Hey, it's me, PCPatientZero. It's really hard to do because these cards are really slippery. They're like laminated, so they don't stay up very well. Usually I'm better at this. But let's stop this silliness for now and talk about something else, like Shakespeare, specifically Macbeth. Today we're going to talk about Act 4, Scene 3. This one stars Malcolm, one of the king's sons from the beginning, one of the ones who ran away, and Macduff, who also ran away. But Macduff left to go find an army, and he apparently also found Malcolm in the process. Malcolm says, "Let us seek out some desolate shade, and there weep our sad bosoms empty. Let's go find some place to sit and cry manly tears." Macduff's like, let us rather hold fast the mortal sword, and like good men bestride our downfall and birthdom. Each new morn, new widows howl, new orphans cry, new sorrows strike heaven on the face, that it resounds as if it fell with Scotland, and yelled out like a symbol of dolour. So Macduff is like, or we could not be wussy girly men. Malcolm, what I believe I'll wail, what I know believe, and what I can redress, as I shall find the time to friend I will, what you have spoke. It may be so, perchance, this tyrant whose sole name blisters our tongues was once thought honest. You have loved him well, he hath not touched you yet. I am young, but something you may deserve of him through me, and wisdom to offer up the weak, poor, innocent lamb to appease the angry God. So he's like, I know Macbeth hasn't done anything to you yet, but he might just because of me. Macduff says, I'm not treacherous. Malcolm says, but Macbeth is. A good and virtuous nature may recoil in an imperial charge. But I shall crave your pardon. That which you are, my thoughts cannot transpose. Basically, he's just complimenting him. He's like, you're cool. Macduff says, I have lost my hopes. Malcolm says, perchance, even there where I did find my doubts. Why, in that rawness left your wife and child, those precious motives, whose strong knots of love, without leave-taking. I pray you, let not my jealousies be your dishonors, but my own safeties. You may be rightly just, whatever you shall think. He's like, why did you leave your wife and kids again? And Macduff says, bleed, bleed, poor country. Great tyranny, lay out thy basest sure, for goodness dare not check thee. And he goes on, and he's just basically like, oh, poor Scotland. And Malcolm agrees with him. Be not offended, I speak not as the absolute fear of you. I think our country sinks beneath the yoke. It weeps, it bleeds, and each new day a gash is added to her wounds. There would be hands uplifted in my right, and here from gracious England have I offer of goodly thousands. But for all this, when I shall tread upon the tyrant's head or wear it on my sword, yet my poor country shall have more vices than it had before, more suffer, more sundry ways than ever, by him that shall succeed. So he's like, even if I go and kill Macbeth, the one who's going to be king after he's dead is just as bad or worse than him. And Macduff says, what should he be? And Malcolm says, it was myself, I mean, in whom I know all the particulars of vice so grateful that, when they shall be opened, black Macbeth shall seem as pure as snow, and the pure state esteem him as a lamb, being compared with my confineless harms. So he's like, I meant me, and I'm a bad, bad person. Next to me, Macbeth looks like a shiny, awesome guy. And Macduff says, not in the legions of horrid hell can come a devil more damned in evils to top Macbeth. Nobody's worse than Macbeth. Malcolm says, I grant him bloody, luxurious, avaricious, false, deceitful, sudden, malicious, smacking of every sin that has a name. But there's no bottom, none, in my voluptuousness. Your wives, your daughters, your matrons, and your maids could not fill up the cistern of my lust, and my desire all content impediments would o'erbear that did oppose my will. Better Macbeth than such a one to reign. So he's like, Macbeth is better than me because I'm full of lust. I will rape everyone, your wives, your children. If it's got a vagina, I will want it. Okay there, buddy, sure. And Macduff says, boundless intemperance in nature is a tyranny. It hath been the untimely emptying of the happy throne and the fall of many kings. But fear not. Yet to take upon you what is yours, you may convey your pleasures in the spacious plenty, and yet seem cold. The time you may so hoodwink. We have willing dames enough. There cannot be that virtue in you to devour so many as will to greatness dedicate themselves, finding it so inclined. He's like, don't worry! We've got lots of women in Scotland. You cannot possibly be so horny that all of the women in Scotland won't satisfy you. Macduff really wants this guy to be king. Malcolm says, this there grows in my most ill-composed affections such a staunchless avarice that, were I king, I would cut off the nobles for their lands, desire his jewels, and this other's house, and my more having would be as sauce to make the hunger more. That I should forge quarrels unjust against the good and loyal, destroying them for wealth. And so he's saying, I'm also really greedy. I would kill everyone so I could have gold and land and stuff. I love stuff. And then Macduff is once again reassuring. This avarice sticks deeper, grows with more pernicious root than summer seeming lust, and it hath been the sword of our slain kings. Yet do not fear. Scotland hath poisons to fill up your will of your mere own. All these are portable with your grace's weight. So he's like, don't worry, we've got treasure. Come on back and be the king. Malcolm says, but I have none. The king becoming graces as justice, verity, temperance, stableness, bounty, perseverance, mercy, lowliness, devotion, patience, courage, fortitude. I have no relish of them, but abound in the division of each several crime, acting in many ways. Nay, had I power, I should pour the sweet milk of concord into hell. Uproar the universal peace, confound all unity on earth. It's like, everything that you need to be a king, I don't have. In fact, I have the opposite of all of those great virtues. And Macduff is like, oh, Scotland, Scotland, because this guy is a real loser. Malcolm, if such a one be fit to govern, speak. I am as I have spoken. Somebody else should rule, because I'm a terrible person. And Macduff says, fit to govern? No, not to live. O nation miserable, with an untitled tyrant bloody sceptred, when shalt thou see thy wholesome days again, since that the truest issue of thy throne by his own interdiction stands accursed, and does blaspheme his breed? Thy royal father was a most sainted king, the queen that bore thee oft upon her knees than on her feet, died every day she lived. Fare thee well. These evils thou repeatst upon thyself hath banished me from Scotland. Oh, my breast, thy hope ends here. He's like, crap. The one guy I was really hoping to be the king is a complete loser. His father was awesome and great and the best king, and his wife, the queen, before she died, was praying so much of the time that she was more often like kneeling to pray than she was standing up. At least we hope that's what he means by kneeling. He could mean something else. This is Shakespeare. Take it as you will. And then Malcolm says, dude, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you so upset. See, Macbeth is always trying to like get at me. He keeps sending people to like get at me and sniff me out. So if he thinks that I really, really don't want to be king, that I won't be killed. But he says, I put myself to thy direction, and unspeak mine own detraction, where here abjure the taints and blames I laid upon myself, for strangers to my nature. I am yet unknown to woman, never was forsworn, scarcely have coveted what was mine own. At no time broke my faith, would not betray the devil to his fellow, and delight no less in truth than life. So he's like, I'm a virgin. I've never even, like, coveted things that already belong to me. I've never betrayed anyone. I wouldn't even betray a demon to the devil. I'm really nice. My first false speaking was upon myself. What I am truly is thine, and my poor country's to command. Whither indeed, therefore, thy here approach, old seaward with 10,000 warlike men, already at point, was setting forth. Now we'll together, and the chance of goodness be like the warranted quarrel. Why are you silent? And Macduff is like, but after that, he says, such welcome men and welcome things at once, 'tis hard to reconcile. He's like, you just told me you were the world's most colossal ass, and now you told me you're this nice fluffy bunny guy. What? Well, at least we can go take back Scotland. And then a doctor comes in, for some reason. Malcolm, well, more anon. Comes the king forth, I pray you? Aye, sir. There are a crew of wretched souls that say his cure. Their malady convinces the great assay of the art, but at his touch, such sanctity hath heaven given his hand, they presently amend. Malcolm says, thank you, doctor. And they talk a little bit about this disease that is being called the evil. And I think, I'm honestly not sure I really understand this. This is like the only mention of it. But it seems like the king is able to cure people who have the evil by hanging a lamp around their neck and like touching them and speaking to them. I don't really know what this has to do with anything. If you know, let me know, because I really am actually confused by this. I'm sorry. Sorry, I can't explain this to you. Maybe someone will let me know and then you can look in the comments and be like, oh, that's what it is. Stupid PCPatientZero. But then Ross comes in. Hey, it's our buddy Ross. Oh, yeah. Macduff, who comes here? Malcolm. My countryman, but yet I know him not, because I don't recognize him right away. And Macduff says, my ever-gentle cousin, come hither. And then Malcolm recognizes him. I know him now. Good God, betimes remove the means that make us strangers. And Ross says, sir, amen. Macduff says, stand Scotland where it did? And Ross says, alas, poor country, almost afraid to know itself. It cannot be called our mother but our grave, where nothing but who knows nothing is once seen to smile, where sighs and groans and shrieks that rent the air are made, not marked, where violent sorrow seems a modern ecstasy. The dead man's knell is there scarce asked for who, and the good men's lives expire before the flowers in their caps, dying ere they sicken. Everyone's being killed! It's really, the situation in Scotland is not good right now. And they talk a little bit more just about that, and Macduff's like, how's my wife? And Ross says, they're great. And my children? They're also great. Macduff says, the tyrant hath not battered at their peace? No, they were well at peace when I did leave them. Not exactly a lie. Be not niggard of your speech. How goes it? Stop lying to me. When I came hither to transport the tidings, which I have heavily borne, there ran a rumour of many worthy fellows that were out, which was to my belief witnessed the rather, for I saw the tyrant's power afoot. Now is the time of help. Our eye in Scotland would create soldiers, make our women fight to doff their dire distresses. He's pissed off the women. They're ready to fight. Remember that in this time period, it was actually pretty normal for the women to fight. They were definitely very warlike, and it would be sort of expected. The women are fighting. Cool. Normal. Everything's normal. But he's pissed them off enough that they want to fight. That's the rare thing there. Like, he's pissed off the women. They're going to kill him. And Malcolm says, be it their comfort, we are coming thither. Gracious England hath lent us good seaward and 10,000 men, an older and a better soldier that Christendom gives out. Don't worry, England gave us a shit ton of guys and this awesome dude named Seaward. We'll soon sort things out. But then Ross is like, would I could answer this comfort with the like, but I have words that will be howled out in the desert air, where hearing should not latch them. Macduff says, what concern they? The general cause, or is it a fee grief due to some single breast? Is it the overall sadness? Or is it a very specific sadness? It's important to know. Ross says, no mind that's honest, but in this shares some woe, though the main part pertains to you alone. He's referring to Macduff. Macduff says, if it be mine, keep it not from me. Quickly let me have it. And Ross says, let not your ears despise my tongue forever. Don't hate me. Which shall possess them with the heaviest sound that ever they heard. It's like, I guess at it. What? Ross says, your castle was surprised, your wife and babes savagely slaughtered, to relate the manner whereon the quarry of these murdered deer, to add the death of you. Yep. Everyone in your house, Macduff, was ruthlessly killed. Malcolm says, merciful heaven! What man never pulled your hat upon your brows, give sorrow words? The grief that does not speak whispers the o'erwrought heart and bids it break. Macduff says, my children too? And Ross says, wife, children, servants, all that could be found. Every single person in Macduff's house was killed. Probably his dogs and cats. Everyone. And Macduff has a hard time dealing with it, and he keeps kind of asking, like, really, everyone? And they're like, yeah, everyone. And Ross is very sympathetic, and Malcolm is not. Dispute it like a man, he says. Man up, I know everyone you ever loved was killed, but man up. And Macduff is like, fine, I will. I shall do so, but I must also feel it as a man. I cannot but remember such things were that were most precious to me. Did heaven look on and would not take their part? Sinful Macduff. They were all struck for thee. Not that I am, not for their own detriments, but for mine. Fell slaughter on their souls. Heaven rest them now. So he's like, crap. I left to go to England, and as a result, my entire family has been killed. Crap. Malcolm, ever sympathetic. Be this the whetstone of your sword. Let grief convert to anger. Blunt not the heart, enrage it. So he's like, get mad. Hulk smash. And Macduff was like, fine. Oh, I could play the woman with mine eyes and the braggart with my tongue. But gentle heavens, cut short all intermission. Front to front, bring thou this fiend of Scotland and myself within my sword's length set him. If he escape, heaven forgive him too. Fine, I will. I'll go after him and seek my revenge. Malcolm says, this tune goes manly. Come, go to the king, our power is ready. Our lack is nothing but our leave. Macbeth is ripe for shaking, and the powers above put in their instruments. Receive what cheer you may. The night is long that never finds the day. To war! And that is also the end of Act 4. We are on to Act 5. Oh. This video might be kind of long, but it was kind of a long scene, but there was important stuff happening, so I felt like I should read it to you guys. So hopefully you didn't get too bored or anything. I thought it was cool. It's interesting. So yeah, this has been a PCPatientZero production. Thanks for watching. In other news, this. Yep.